I'm going to tell you about something that happened when I was a kid. Oh, but you have to understand the kind of kid I was. I was the kind of kid who would get stuck on some simple little thing, and I never wanted to get rid of it, never wanted to trade it for anything else. It might be a hat that I would wear every single day. It might be a t-shirt that I would wear until it fell into pieces on my back. It might even be a pencil. Once when I was in elementary school, I had a really special pencil. It had bright colored stripes spiraling down around it, and there were silvery speckles mixed in with the colored stripes. And it had an electric orange eraser. No other kid in my class had a pencil like that. I used that pencil every day. I sharpened it again and again. It got so small that one day my teacher said to me, "If you sharpen your pencil one more time, it's going to make invisible writing." She was right about that. I sharpened it one more time, and there was no lead left in the pencil to write with. Oh, one time I had a pair of jeans that I wore so much they got so full of holes, my friends called them my Swiss cheese pants. But do you think I threw them away? No, I didn't throw them away until my mom showed me that they were about to get one more hole in a very embarrassing place. But I think the things I loved the most when I was a kid were my black and white sneakers. Ooh, they were high-top sneakers. They had a white stripe kind of curving up on the inside of each shoe, and another white stripe curving up on the outside of each shoe. I wore those black and white sneakers to school every day, and I wore them to play in after school. I wore them on the weekends. I wore them to baseball games. I wore them to birthday parties. I would have worn them to bed if my mom would have let me. The more I wore them, the better they felt on my feet. Have you ever had a pair of shoes that really felt good on your feet? I bet you have. Well, by the end of the school year, my black and white sneakers were really beat up. The laces had been broken and tied back together again in about 25 places. There was a big hole in the bottom of one shoe. The sides were all ragged and torn. But do you think I threw them away? No, I wore them in the summertime too. In the summer, when I was a kid, I would wake up each morning and jump right back into the same clothes I had been wearing the day before. I'd pull on my trusty black and white sneakers, and I would go find my good friend Billy Guerra, and we would spend the whole day running around out in the desert. I'm talking about the desert in Arizona. It's hot in the summer. If you run around out there all day long, you sweat a lot, especially your feet. My black and white sneakers started getting pretty whiffy. And then to make matters worse, one time we were running across a pasture and I stepped right in a cow pie. In case you think a cow pie is a pie that you feed to a cow, it's not. It's something that comes out the other end of a cow. And then another time we were down by the river and I stepped in some nasty smelling mud. When I got home that day, my mom met me at the door. She said, "You're not coming into the house with those shoes on." She made me take off my shoes and leave them outside on the step. My shoes were banned from the house. Do you think I threw them away? No. My mom even went down to the store and bought another pair of shoes, exactly like the ones I loved so much. I didn't even try them on. I knew they wouldn't feel anywhere near as good on my feet. Well, I didn't really understand how bad my shoes smelled until one time my friend and I decided to camp out for a night. We had been down by the river. We saw a big spreading cottonwood tree with grass growing under it. Someone had made a circle of rocks and had built a campfire there at some time in the past. It looked like a perfect campsite. We decided to ask our moms if we could spend a night there. We went back home and asked for permission, and our mom said we could do it. So we packed up a tent and our sleeping bags. We got a can of baked beans and some hot dogs to make for supper. We stuck some old silverware and a flashlight into the pack, and we headed down to the river. First we set up our tent, then we broke up some dead branches from the tree and made a little fire. We heated up the baked beans and we cooked the hot dogs. We had a delicious supper. And then we sat around for a while poking the fire with sticks until we were getting sleepy. We dumped water on the fire and we went to the tent to sleep. I was already used to leaving my shoes outside, so I took off my black and white sneakers and left them outside the front flap of the tent. We climbed into our sleeping bags and we were so tired we fell asleep right away. But then I woke up in the middle of the night because I could hear a sound over by the circle of rocks where we had had our campfire. I felt around on the floor and found the flashlight, and I shined it over there. I saw two bright little specks of light shining back at me. I knew those were the eyes of some animal. I moved the flashlight around some more, and I could make out the chubby little black and white body of a skunk. And just about the time I identified the skunk, it lost interest in whatever it was investigating over by the campfire, and it started walking right toward the door of the tent. I shook my friend and woke him up. We both sat there staring. We were too scared to move. And then just when the skunk got to the front of our tent, it turned around and its tail was pointing right at us. We felt like we were looking down the barrel of a shotgun. But then we realized that what made the skunk turn around didn't have anything to do with us, because we saw that the skunk kind of sidled over to my old black and white sneakers and started cuddling up against them. My friend said, "Oh my gosh, that skunk is falling in love with your stinky old shoes." It really was. It started purring like a kitten and nuzzling and snuggling with my shoes. But then I heard another sound and I turned the flashlight over there. There was a second skunk. This one was huge. It was about as big as my grandma's cocker spaniel. And that big skunk came marching over there. It shoved the lovey little skunk out of the way, and then it bit the toe of one of my shoes. And then the big skunk turned around and psh, it sprayed my shoes. And then the big skunk gave the little skunk the meanest look you ever saw in your life, and then it turned and walked away. My friend said, "The big skunk must be the little skunk's boyfriend." I don't know if that was true or not, but I do know that it smelled too bad in that tent for us to sleep there. We held our noses and grabbed our sleeping bags and ran out of the tent. We got far enough away so we couldn't smell the skunk anymore, and we tried to get some sleep. We didn't sleep very much that night, and then the next morning my black and white sneakers smelled so bad, not even I could put them on. I had to stay there in my bare feet, and my friend had to hike the whole way back to my house and bring me the new pair of shoes my mom had bought. I put on those new shoes, and then we packed up our tent and our sleeping bags and everything. And as we were leaving the clearing, I turned and took one last sad look at my good old black and white sneakers. And then we went back home, and when we got to my house, my mom was so happy to see that I had finally abandoned those smelly old shoes, she didn't even ask me why I had done it. Or maybe she didn't ask, because she knew that if she did, I would probably just make up some wild, unbelievable story, like a story about a lovesick skunk and her jealous boyfriend.